Rangers fans have had enough. After another brutal performance and frustrating loss, fans are calling for the team to move on from some players in the offseason, and not only players, but coaching staff and management as well. We're going to break down some shocking reports in this video, as well as get into some fan reaction because fans have had enough. We're going to break it all down in this video, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, this is the place to get all your Rangers daily news. So let's jump right into it. Fans are mad. Fans are really mad with this team, with management, with the coaching staff, and I don't think that this can be ignored anymore, especially on the coaching staff side of things. But let's get into it. This is the fan reaction. Point blank, after yesterday's game, Peter Laviolette needs to be fired tomorrow. We know Peter Laviolette. We know the type of coach that he is. He likes older players. He likes more established players in the league, and the Rangers are at a point where they have a lot of youth on the roster. They have Brett Berard, Brandon Othman, Matt Rempe, just to name a few. And they're getting younger. They're, consistently getting younger at this point because that's kind of the direction they need to go in. So is this coach the coach to take them to the promised land, especially the younger guys? I'm not so sure anymore because, I did believe that firing the coach in November or October was not the move because they didn't move off of Jacob Trouba yet. Obviously, there was a lot going into that. You couldn't fire the coach and reward the players for, you couldn't let the inmates run the asylum per se. That everyone likes to use that phrase, right? You couldn't do that. So firing the coach back then made no sense. But now you've made a bunch of moves. The team is a lot younger, and I'm not sure that this is the guy that's going to usher in this new era of Rangers hockey, especially past this season. Are they going to fire him tomorrow? I'm not so sure about that either, but I'm not, entirely certain that he will return next season. Now, we're going to get into some shocking comments now based on what happened last night because what Peter Laviolette, what the players are saying, do not match up with what the fans are seeing on the ice and what other analysts are seeing as well. And from Peter Baugh, this is post-game. Peter Laviolette said the coach has talked about going to Igor Shesterkin in the third, but the combination of it being a back-to-back, the upcoming schedule, which is brutal, by the way, and we'll get to that in a second, and the fact that many of the goals were rooted in poor defense led them to sticking with Quick. Now, you notice here that Laviolette said they considered switching goaltenders, which, I don't even think was the problem last night. I think it was more about the defense, which he mentions at the end, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, it was about the defense and the defensive structure. It was horrible last night. We can get into some screenshots. And then you move on to a quote from one of the leaders on this team, in Vincent Trocheck, and I love Vincent Trocheck, and I do wonder if he will be the next captain of this team, him or JT Miller at this point. I'm not sure. It's probably going to happen next season. But this is a very shocking quote from me. He goes on to say, I don't think a whole lot has changed. I think team defense is still there. It's not like the structure in our defense has been bad, which right there, if we want to stop right there, what are you talking about? Yes, it has been. It's been horrifying. But anyway, but even tonight, I think we were just shooting ourselves in the foot. I don't know how many of their goals were just a product of us, giving them grade A chances. Now, why are you giving the other team in Columbus grade A chances? Because your defensive structure is breaking down. I would argue that the Rangers have no defensive structure right now. If you take a look at some of the things from last night, this is something that I brought up in my last video, this exact screenshot. Why do you have three players, and one of them being a winger who's in the wrong spot, down low covering one guy who's obviously passing the puck into the slot? Why are there three guys covering them? It's 6-3 at this point. There's 8 minutes left. Your season essentially is on the line in this moment, and you're doing this. Look at the guy. The guy is open in front of the net. The Columbus Blue Jackets player, forgive me, I don't know who that is right in front of the net. He's open. Not only him, Adam Fantilli, who has 2 goals already on the night, is wide open in the slot. I have no idea what this defensive structure is. I don't think there is a structure. And I've been talking about it the last little while that I've noticed, the wingers come down to help because the defense get running around. Then the wingers are out of position because they came too low to a spot that they shouldn't be in. Then, the puck gets kicked back to the point. There's a shot on goal. There's a scramble. Something like this happens. The other team scores. It's happening so frequently the last little while that I have to wonder if there is any defensive scheme, structure, anything like that with the New York Rangers. It's shocking. And when you look at this is from Stephen Valiquette, and I'm glad that he brought this up. The scoring chances report from the Jackets versus the Rangers last night. What are we talking about if we're Vincent Trocheck here? I mean, look at the scoring chances. 25-31, and 31 was the New York Rangers. They had more scoring chances. They scored less goals. That has to do, to me, with defense. I don't think that goaltending is the problem. Saturday, Shesterkin keeps you in the game, which is crazy. You should have won that game, even though you didn't deserve it. And then in this one, the other team has less scoring chances, and they're scoring more because there's more defensive breakdowns, like this one. And Adam Fantilli, like you can see here, from Remy Mastery, gets the hat trick. It was a brutal third period for the New York Rangers. Absolutely brutal. And if you take a look at what's kind of missing from the team as well, it's the power play. It's been brutal. 0 for 3 last night. The power play has been horrible. They can barely score 5-on-5 as well. It's just not looking good. So the scoring's dried up. There's no defensive structure. What are you left with? You're left with 2 goalies who are hung out to dry, and they're going to try their best, but it's probably not going to work out, right? That's what you're left with at this point. And Vinny Trocheck on what's missing from the power play. I think we're getting good looks. Long pause. I don't know. I think if we knew the answer to that, we'd be scoring more goals. But there's been a lot in the last couple of games where I feel like we could have scored a few and just pucks didn't go in. They're getting chances, but they're not converting. You need to convert. This is a, results-based industry, hockey is, right? In the NHL, you have to push forward for these results, and it doesn't matter if you're close. They were close last year to the Stanley Cup final. What does that matter? Rangers fans want a Stanley Cup, right? Being close does not matter. Now, if you look at the schedule coming up, and not just the schedule, we'll get to that in a second, but this is the current outlook on the playoffs. You squandered, I think, at least 3 points this weekend. You could have had 3 points here. You could have had 71 points. You would have been comfortably, I say comfortably, but you would have been in the first wild card spot there. And not just in the first wild card spot, you would have been only 3 points back of the Devils with a game in hand if you made the best use of this weekend. And now, not only did you not make the best use out of this weekend, you squandered points to the 2 teams that are ahead of you. It's not like you lost to teams like Washington or maybe the San Jose Sharks or something. You gave up these points to both teams that are directly in front of you in the standings. Mind-boggling weekend for Rangers fans to really wrap their head around what we just witnessed this past weekend. The Senators get that extra point. They have 2 games in hand now. They have 69 points. You have 68. I mean, that's a disastrous loss on Saturday. Then the Columbus Blue Jackets have 70 points. You gave them those 2 points yesterday, and you had a tiebreaker over them that now you've squandered as well. Not a great look for the Rangers. And when you look at the schedule upcoming, obviously yesterday, the 9th, just played a loss against Columbus Blue Jackets. Red hot, absolutely red hot and soaring Winnipeg Jets that obviously they just came off of a loss, but they've won like 10 in a row coming into this month, which is pretty absurd. The Minnesota Wild are a great team. You have a great opportunity next Saturday against Columbus as well, but the schedule is busy and it's against really good teams. You got Edmonton coming up. You got Toronto coming up. Vancouver seems pretty hungry. That's got to be, you got to put in a great performance there. So it's going to get a little crazy over the next little while. And I think, Rangers fans are calling at this point for the coach to be fired, something to change. Honestly, there is no defensive scheme to me. I don't know what it is, because when you hear the players talk about how there's no breakdowns and the structure is fine, and then you see things like Fantilli scoring a hat trick and this screenshot, what are you doing on defense? You have to wonder sometimes what is actually happening. But I'm curious to see what you guys have to say in the comments about Peter Laviolette and what's been going on the last little while. It's been very disappointing. They have a great opportunity coming up this week, but they are definitely in tough. They're right there on the outside looking in. They do still hold their fate in their hands, but man, we could have been looking at a very different situation heading into this week. So I want to hear what you have to say about the whole situation down there in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.